Good morning. My name's Alasdair MacLeod from Caduthel Christian Centre in Inverness, and I'd like to speak to you about perseverance. Going through lockdown is impacting us in different ways. Some of us are really excited about all the opportunities and the challenges of this season, and others are perhaps feeling a bit down because we're not with our congregations. We're not standing on the door, welcoming people, sort of shaking hands. And throughout this season, we're going to need perseverance. And I promise you this morning, I'm not going to patronise you with a children's talk, but beside me here, we have some running shoes and some walking boots. And this just helps us to think about perseverance. With the running shoe, takes us into Hebrews chapter 12, where we're asked to run with perseverance the race marked out with us by fixing our eyes on Jesus. And as we think about perseverance, I also think about the great cloud of witnesses, those people that have gone before us. As a marathon runner is running his race, where he fixes his gaze is so important. And we're to think about the great cloud of witnesses that were commended for their faith, these Old Testament saints. But I think it's also legitimate for us to think about people that have served before us, who've gone on to glory. And I think of two role models in my life, Jim Graham, who served at Gold Hill, and also Derek Prime. Jim Graham passed away in 2016, and Derek Prime passed away earlier this year. Derek was someone who affirmed my call to ministry and said he would pray for me. And I was just so moved by his faithfulness to pray for me over many, many years. And I didn't phone him that often, but I can remember being in a tight spot and giving him a call to ask for his counsel. And I don't remember the specific counsel that he gave me, although it was wise at the time. But what I do remember is how he prayed with me at the end. And he prayed from 2 Thessalonians 3, verse 5, "May the Lord direct your hearts into God's love and Christ's perseverance." So we also think about the walking boot. That reminds me of Eugene Peterson's book on perseverance, where he talked about a long walk of obedience in the same direction. And that also helps me to think about Moses and how he did that 40-year leadership walk. It took 2 weeks for the Egyptian army to go from Egypt to Canaan, but for Moses it was 40 years. What sustained him throughout that time? Well, in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 27, it says that Moses persevered as one seeing the invisible God, as though seeing the invisible God. And of course, that could be the burning bush, or it could be a number of very memorable encounters that Moses had. It's very mysterious because we know that in Exodus 33, he spoke to God face to face as a man speaks with a friend. But also it says in that same chapter that no one can see the face of God and live. And so I think what we can simply summarize is that Moses had a personal, close walk with the Lord. But he also wanted more. In his time of trial, after the great discouragement of the golden calf incident, he said, "Teach us your ways. Lord, if you are pleased with me, teach me your ways, that I may know you and that I may continue to find favour with you." And the Lord said, "My presence will go with you and I will give you rest." And Moses then said, "Show me your glory." And the Lord said, "I am gracious, I am compassionate, I am slow to anger, I am abounding in love." Moses just had this hunger to know more of God, to have a greater revelation of God in his time of trial. And that is speaking to us about how are we going to tactically get through this season? Well, the tactics are important, but more than that, we need to be growing in God and getting a revelation of his character and of his love and of his presence with us through this season. Jim Graham served for over 40 years at Gold Hill, and my memory of him is of a man in his old age, fresh and green, and wanting to learn more about Jesus, wanting to grow in Jesus and being open to change his thoughts and his approaches, and a real hunger for more of the presence of the Lord. So as we think about perseverance, as we think about how the way we persevere will actually impact our congregations, we are to be an example to them. And again, thinking about Moses, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks in his book Lessons on Leadership, he speaks about Moses in the battle against the Amalekites and how he was on the top of the mountain praying. Now, some may think that it was Moses' prayers that helped them to persevere in the battle. But what Rabbi Jonathan Sacks says is that in the battle, people looked up and they saw that Moses was looking up to God. And as they saw Moses was looking to God and praying to God, that gave them confidence to look to God as well. And that together the whole community were able to persevere and to prevail. So may the Lord direct our hearts into God's love and Christ's perseverance.